What I want to look at now is to identify how authenticated users have their identities persisted when they vote on a vehicle. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to open up Fiddler again, because clearly we're going to want to look at the API requests that are being made, and I'm going to start the emulator. So the way we're going to do this is we'll start everything up, I'll log in, the API will somehow persist my identity on the device, I will then vote for a vehicle, and we'll see what it is about my identity that is sent back to the API so that it knows who I am. So let's do this. I'm going to go and drill down into the SLS AMG Black. I haven't commented on this already, so I'm going to log in to comment. Same old email address. And the same terrible password. And let's now log in. Okay, now I have the vote and comment button. So let's go and hit that. And let me leave a vote. Looks awesome. And we will submit that vote. And there in the background, we can see a request to the Vote API. Request number 35. Let's now inspect that request. I want to see what data has been sent with it. And a really easy way to do that is just to look at web forms. Now we can see there are 3 values that have been sent in the body of that request. That's all these guys just here. User ID 1. That to me immediately says the identity persistence of this request is being done via this integer. The other attributes are obvious. Supercar ID 9, and there is the comment that I just left. So why is this a problem? User ID 1. Well, it's a problem because we can almost certainly simply substitute 1 with another value. Authentication tokens are a means of identity persistence. They're meant to be strong insofar as they can't just simply be manipulated or substituted with another value. Cryptographically strong, if you will. And indeed, this is why it's so important to protect them very, very carefully. In the Hack Yourself First course, I showed how easy it is to hijack sessions when an authentication cookie gets disclosed to an attacker. Let's come back to this though. I want to show you precisely what the problem is. We'll go up to the composer, we'll drag this request over. Where we have user ID 1, we will change that to user ID 2, and we will execute it. That's now made another request, and to see just what it looks like, let's jump back over into the browser for a second. Here's Supercar Showdown. We can see on the front page now we have Mercedes-Benz. Let's drill down. Let's view that SLS AMG Black. And have a look at this. There is my vote. That is the one that I made in the mobile app entirely legitimately. But have a look at this one. Here's Sebastian Vettel leaving exactly the same comment. Now, of course, it wasn't him. We impersonated him. He is inevitably user ID number 2. Because we can add 1, we have been able to impersonate him and leave a vote on his behalf. That's how easy it is. Now, if this sounds so crazy that it can only be hypothetical, very recently I reviewed an app that did precisely this. All it did was persist an integer between requests, and that's a sequentially incrementing integer as well. And that integer identified the individual. You add 1, you get another individual. Add another one, you get yet another one. It is that simple. So all an attacker would need to do is look at the request, and we just saw how easy that was, and then recompose it with a different user ID. We saw a very similar vulnerability to this in the web app that we're looking at now in that Hack Yourself First course. Of course, it was much easier to identify then because we could just simply look at the developer tools and see what the ID being sent in the request was. In the mobile world, nobody knows how bad it is until they do what we just did here and proxy that fiddler traffic. So if you're ever looking at authenticated requests, that is a request that only should be made under the identity of someone who's logged on. Always look for how the identity is being persisted. You see this a lot. You see usernames or email addresses used as the persistence mechanism a lot. What you must see is a strong token. Anything less than that, and you're going to have serious issues. With that said, let's move on and talk about the role of tokens.